Today's lesson is Happy Accidents, a brief history of unexpected inventions. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
I am Roger, and today we're going to continue with the month of November by talking about happy accidents, okay? Of course, we don't like to have accidents because something bad can happen to us. We don't want to have accidents. They usually are bad, but sometimes, of course, we can benefit from happy accidents. That means we come across things that we didn't intend to come across, and we actually benefit from that accident or that incident.
Exactly right. Imagine you're cooking something in the kitchen and you put in way too much of a certain spice. You think the dish is ruined, but then you actually taste it and you go, wow, I really like this. It is different, but it's actually a little bit better. What a happy accident that was. We often think of inventors toiling away in their labs, working on ideas for years and years until they finally refine it and get it just right. Think of the Wright brothers who worked for many, many years in their free time trying to design an airplane that would be functional and safe and whatnot. And they really did spend a big portion of their lives doing this. But then there were other inventions, other amazing things that have come along and improved human life that just happened purely by chance. A random little mistake in a lab led to a mixing of two chemicals that should never have really come together, according to the research, but they did, and something amazing came out of it. So these are very interesting stories that kind of show that a great idea could be just one little slip away.
Okay, so let's begin our lesson by listening to the first part, and then we'll come back to talk about it.
Happy Accidents, a brief history of unexpected inventions. Some of the most notable inventions of all time came about by accident. A research sample mistakenly left open resulted in the discovery of penicillin, the first antibiotic. When a Swiss engineer happened to get some plant seeds stuck to his clothes after going for a walk, it inspired him to invent Velcro.
大家好，标题中介绍名词 invention 意思是发明物或是创造物。例如 The light bulb is one of the most important inventions of all time. 灯泡是有史以来最重要的发明物之一。或者 Inventions like the smartphone have changed the way people get information. 智慧型手机之类的发明改变了人们取得资讯的方式。接着看到形容词 notable 表示著名的、显著的或是值得注意的。例如The flagship store is the most notable retail location in the city. 这间旗舰店是城里最著名的商业据点。或是 Our research produced some notable results that may help. 我们的研究产出了一些值得注意的结果，这可能会有所帮助。再来看到动词 inspire， 意思是启发、赋予灵感，或是激励、鼓舞的意思。例如 A painting inspired the design of Tanya's dress. 一幅画启发了 Tanya 的洋装设计。也可以说 The character in the TV show inspired Monty to become an engineer. 那个电视节目的角色启发了 Monty 成为工程师。
Okay, let's first of all talk about the title here. Again, we're talking about happy accidents, and this is a brief history of unexpected inventions. Okay, an invention is something that was invented or created, and it is something that did not exist before. You've got lots of people coming up with new ideas, different kinds of inventors like Alexander Graham Bell or Thomas Edison. They were famous inventors. They had ideas, and they came up with new ideas and products and introduced them to the world.
Exactly right. Of course, the inventions that we might think of, the car, the bicycle, the airplane, the steam engine, things like that, all of which are wonderful and all of which changed human culture and history, but a lot of those were not accidents. They were actually very methodically planned and researched and worked out, but some were. So let's look at our article. It says some of the most notable inventions of all time came about by accident. So these aren't just random silly little things that you might have heard of but never actually used or came across. No, these are notable inventions. If something is notable, it's important. It's worth paying attention to. It's not something that you can just sort of brush off or forget or ignore. A notable person is basically a VIP, someone who's quite well known or famous or did something noteworthy in the past. So these are some fairly well-known inventions that are fairly common and important. And they came about or they occurred or happened by accident through total mistake or through a lack of preparation and planning. It just happened. So exactly what were we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about, first of all, a research sample, and it was mistakenly left open, and that resulted in the discovery of penicillin, the first antibiotic. Okay, of course, we do need antibiotics to fight certain diseases. We didn't have them before, and the first antibiotic was discovered by accident. This happened because a research sample was left open by accident, or it was mistakenly left open. They left it open on the counter in the laboratory. They were supposed to cover it up or put it in the refrigerator or something like that. They left it out, and that actually resulted in the discovery of penicillin. If that irresponsible scientist had not left that sample sitting out on the counter in the laboratory, we would not have penicillin today.
Amazing. But that irresponsible scientist, of course, was Alexander Fleming, and he became a knight, and he changed the world and saved millions or billions of people from dying of infections and stuff like that. Yeah, I think he left it out on the counter over the weekend, and we came back, he discovered that some of the mold there had been killed off by something, and he discovered that that something is what eventually became penicillin. So there you go. A happy accident. He didn't clean up his lab very well on Friday afternoon, and it led to the discovery of this antibiotic. How about another one? It says, when a Swiss engineer happened to get some plant seeds stuck to his clothes after going for a walk, it inspired him to invent Velcro. Yes, that amazing fabric that has two parts to it. There's the hooks, and then there's the fuzzy bit, and the hooks kind of connect or hook to the fuzzy bit. We use this, of course, for clothes, or, instead of shoelaces, you might have Velcro fasteners on your shoes or something like that. I believe he was out walking with his dog in the woods or through a field, and he got those natural things that fall off plants, and they have little hooks. And if you've ever gone walking in a field with plants like this, and you're wearing thick woolen socks or long pants, you might find these things hooked into your clothes in the same way, or hooked into your dog's fur, which can be kind of annoying if you're pulling them out. But that idea made him think, hey, if I can make this in a lab, if I can make this in a factory, this would be a great way to connect things, because they join together very easily using this natural design. So that inspired him to invent Velcro. Of course, the real thing was a natural seed. He kind of recreated it using fabric and plastics and stuff, but he got the idea. He was inspired by nature. If you're inspired by something, yeah, basically your creativity is sparked. That light bulb, ding, goes off over your head like it does in cartoons, and you go, wait a minute, I have a great new idea. I've been struck by creativity. I've been inspired. So those are two famous examples, probably, of how happy accidents led to great discoveries. Let's look at a few more in the next part of the article. Inventing the microwave oven likewise required a little luck. During World War II, Percy Spencer was using magnetrons to build radar systems for the US military. However, after standing close to a magnetron one day, he realized that a chocolate bar he had in his pocket had completely melted. That was how Spencer figured out that the microwaves emitted by a magnetron could be used to cook foods, and the microwave oven is now present in kitchens around the world.
第二部分介绍副词 likewise， 表示同样的、类似的或是照样的。可以说 The court likewise rejected the argument from the defense lawyer. 法院同样的驳回了辩护律师的论点。又或者说 I always try to treat others with kindness, and I expect them to do likewise. 我总是试着善待别人，然而我期待他们也这样做。下一个我们看到名词 radar 指的是雷达。举例来说 Radars use radio waves to detect nearby objects. 雷达使用无线电波来侦测附近的物体。或者 The weather station's radar system made us aware of a coming storm. 该气象站的雷达系统让我们察觉到一个即将来临的暴风雨。接着看到动词 emit， 意思是排放、散发气体、热量或是光线等。例如 The exhaust system of the car was designed to emit fewer greenhouse gases. 这款汽车的排气系统设计用意是排放更少的温室气体。又或者说 This old communication device emits a radio signal. 这台老旧的通讯装置能发射无线电讯号。
Okay, we've got some other examples of happy accidents. First of all, we're talking about the microwave oven, which most of us have in our homes. It's very convenient. If we want something to eat, we just pop something in the microwave, push the button, and in about a minute or two, we've got something really hot to eat waiting for us. So inventing the microwave oven likewise, or also, required a little luck. So we've mentioned some examples above about people discovering things by accident. We talked about this accidental discovery of penicillin. So inventing the microwave oven likewise, like the above example, required a little luck. Okay, you can't just do it by design. It has to be done by accident in this particular case. Yeah, someone just didn't go out and say, we need to have an oven that heats food really quickly. No, they could not directly invent something like this. It had to be discovered by accident.
Absolutely. So let's find out how the microwave was discovered by accident. This seems like a very complicated machine to be discovered by accident. So let's see exactly what happened here. It says, during World War II, Percy Spencer was using magnetrons to build radar systems for the U.S. military. Well, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I think a lot of inventions do come out of war, right? Because both sides are often looking for technological advantages that they can use to kill more of the enemy or try to win the war. And certainly radar was one of the big discoveries of World War II. Radar, of course, is using radio waves to detect and find airplanes at first, and then later on ships on the ocean. Basically, they're bouncing out in the same way that a bat uses sound or a dolphin uses sound. They're sending out radio waves. Those bounce off a target or a subject like an airplane or a boat. They bounce back, and that gives you, the person running the radar, an idea of where those things are, how far away they are, what direction they're moving in. It allowed, for example, the British during the Battle of Britain to know exactly where the German planes would be attacking so they could send up their defenders in the most efficient way possible. So radar was a big thing. It allowed people basically to see long distances and to see through night in order to find the enemy in order to attack them. So magnetrons are basically the engine that makes those radio waves. They're using electrons and they're just creating radio waves or microwaves as well that they can use to efficiently send out this energy pulse in order to have the radar system operate. However, after standing close to a magnetron one day, that's Percy Spencer, he realized that a chocolate bar he had in his pocket had completely melted. Oh my gosh. So there he is. He's working on a magnetron, toying with it, trying to make it work efficiently. He's got his little mid-morning snack there, a little Hershey bar, a chocolate bar in his pocket. And at one point he reached into his pocket and his hand came out covered in goopy melted chocolate. I mean, I guess your body temperature would warm it up a little bit, but as it says there, it had completely melted. I guess it turned into kind of a puddle of chocolate and wrapping paper in his pocket. Most of us would go, oh, gross, and then we would run to the bathroom to try to clean our pants. But Percy Spencer, being an engineer and scientist, he went, wait a minute, what's going on here?
And he realized, hey, it must be those microwaves coming from the magnetron that melted that chocolate. Imagine what we could do with those microwaves if we wanted to heat food, for example. Well, this was how Spencer figured out that the microwaves emitted by a magnetron could be used to cook foods, and the microwave oven is now present in kitchens around the world. That's probably in your house as well, too, Mike.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There you go. So, yeah, if you figure something out, you kind of look into a problem or a mystery and you find a solution. That's basically all we're talking about there. You're coming up with an answer, a solution, an explanation to what was before a mystery or a a problem, or even fancier, a conundrum, which is kind of like a problem or a mystery. And so these microwaves are emitted by the magnetron. Machines like this will give off or emit certain things. The camera in a hospital will emit X-rays, and that allows doctors, of course, to see under your skin, through your muscle, and to see your bones. When things emit, they basically come out. So radios will emit radio waves, television stations or cell phone towers will emit signals, and of course, if you have the right machine, you can pick those up and you can use that information or data or signal or whatever. So magnetrons emit microwaves, and microwaves will shake up the water molecules in your food, and so that's why we use it to cook foods and, of course, to reheat foods, and that's why they are present or found in kitchens around the world. So we can thank Percy Spencer and his sadly destroyed chocolate bar. I hope someone got him a replacement, because for that discovery, he deserves a new chocolate bar, I would say.
Well, we could probably all go all the way back to Adolf Hitler being responsible for the microwave oven, because if he had not started World War II, the Americans would not have been figuring out how to do radar with microwaves. You get the point, but of course, that's probably absurd to suggest that. But in any case, this was an accidental discovery in which Percy Spencer discovered that you can melt chocolate with microwaves and you can heat food after that. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Here comes the third part.
Decades earlier, Wilhelm Röntgen was conducting experiments with cathode rays when he stumbled on a type of invisible light that could pass through many types of materials. He soon proved that this light could show the bones inside the human body by taking an X-ray photo of his wife's hand. Since then, X-rays used for medical diagnoses have saved millions of lives.
第三部分看到动词 conduct 表示进行或是实施，例如 We will need to conduct an investigation to determine what caused the accident. 我们需要进行调查来确定这起意外的肇事原因，或是 The police officer will conduct a thorough investigation into the matter. 那名警员将对此事进行彻底调查。最后看到名词 diagnosis， 它表示诊断，可以说 The doctor's diagnosis was that Sue had the flu. 医生的诊断是 Sue 得了流感，或是 Patrick is waiting for a diagnosis from his doctor to find out why he feels sick. Patrick 正在等待医生的诊断，以找出他感到不适的原因。
Decades earlier, a decade, of course, is a period of 10 years, so maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years before that, Wilhelm Röntgen was conducting experiments with cathode rays when he stumbled on a type of invisible light that could pass through many types of materials. Now, when I see the word cathode or cathode ray, I think of the old computer monitors, the CRTs. That's the old computer monitors that we had back in the day. They were really big on the desk. It's kind of hard to imagine that we actually used those kinds of appliances back then. But in any case, he was doing some experiments with cathode rays, and he came upon or stumbled on a type of invisible light that could pass through many types of materials. If you stumble on something, you kind of run into something by accident, okay? The other day, I was walking through an alley in Taipei, and I stumbled across a Middle Eastern restaurant. It looked like it was really tasty. I went in and tried it, and it was, so scrumptious, so wonderful. Yeah, I stumbled on it. I came across it by accident.
Exactly. And he did this. He stumbled upon these unusual rays when he was conducting these experiments. And to conduct here, it's not in the same way that an orchestra leader will conduct or lead the orchestra, or a traffic policeman might conduct traffic, telling these cars to stop and these cars to go. Here we're talking about basically doing an activity or even an organization. So you conduct research, you might conduct a study, you might conduct a survey. You're kind of organizing and doing this project that will probably take a fair amount of time, right? So when we think of conducting some research or conducting a survey, we have an end goal to learn as much as we can about a certain topic or a certain group of people. But to do that, we'll have to do many different steps or do the same thing with large groups. So that's why we often use it when talking about scientific research, things like that take a lot of time and look into a lot of of different subjects. So he's conducting these experiments, basically trying to find what can we use cathode rays for. So he just had this new machine, and he's kind of looking at different things that they could do. And that's why he stumbled upon or accidentally discovered this invisible light that could pass through many types of materials. He soon proved that this light could show the bones inside the human body by taking an X-ray photo of his wife's hand. You might be able to see a photo of this very famous picture. There's a hand. I believe he got his wife to leave her wedding ring on there, and you can see that the bones and the ring and just a faint shadow of the skin of her hand, it makes for a very striking image, and it also makes for a very clear image. Yeah, we're seeing the bones in this woman's hand. And look, you can even see the metal of the ring is a slightly different color because it's denser than the bones. So that is that famous first X-ray. And an X-ray, of course, is using these rays, these energy that is being emitted by the cathode ray or by the X-ray machine. And when we see X-ray, we're just thinking of this, this now, I guess it's pretty common science that is used in hospitals and in other research to look under the surface of things. And now it's very common, and I think most of us probably, if we've even fallen off our bike as kids, have had an X-ray or two in our lives.
Yeah, I had an X-ray a couple of weeks ago,
really?
Checking out my heart. I guess it's normal. But since that time, since he did that X-ray or took that X-ray of his wife's hand, X-rays used for medical diagnoses have saved millions of lives. Okay, so yes, as you said, we probably have all had X-rays at one time or another in our lives to check out this, to check out that. I think all foreigners who live in Taiwan have to have some X-rays taken as part of their medical exam to get their permanent resident certificate. I know I did for sure. But in any case, X-rays have been used for medical diagnoses for a long time. A diagnosis, of course, is when a doctor examines you and tries to figure out what's wrong with you. And this is the plural form, diagnoses, which I had never actually used it in the plural, but diagnosis is the singular form, and it's far more common.
There you go. So saved millions of lives that way. And I guess we could also probably say saved at least thousands of lives by using X-rays at airports, right? We also use them to look inside bags and luggage to make sure there aren't bombs and other dangerous things. So there you go. X-rays saving lives, and it was all a happy accident. Well, that's all the time we have today, but we'll be looking more into some happy accidents that delivered wonderful things to us tomorrow. But for now, let's go over to a woman who is no accident at all. She is purpose-built. She's Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分最后一句提到，一名瑞士工程师在散步后恰巧有些植物种子粘在衣服上，这给了他发明魔鬼毡的灵感。那文中是用 happened to get some plant seeds 怎么样去表达恰巧有些植物种子怎么样。好，那么 happen 在这边是表达碰巧，当我们用 happen to 加上原形动词，就可以表达刚好怎么样，正好恰巧怎么样。那么前方可以加入just so 来做强调用。举例来说， Her manager just so happens to be my neighbor. 她的经理正好是我的邻居。好，那补充两个相关句型，一个是 It just so happens 加上 that 子句，或者是 It happens 加上 that 子句。那另外一个句型是 As it happens 逗号主词加动词。好，那么注意句型当中的 it 是虚主词，用来代替 that 子句，是指恰巧发生的事情。举例来说， It just so happens that I know where to find a good Korean restaurant. 也可以说 As it happens, I know where to find a good Korean restaurant. 我刚好知道有一家很棒的韩式料理餐厅。另外，文中它用到动词 inspire 去表达启发、赋予灵感，那它还有激励、鼓舞的意思。我们来学习它的字首字根。先来看看 spire 这个字根，它表示呼吸。带有这个字根的 spirit 在拉丁文里面，它是指灵魂啊、勇气、活力、气息等等。而在 inspire 这个字当中，它的字首 in 表示向内往内， spire 表示呼吸。而当我们在某人的心里面注入活力、勇气，也许呢就可以去联想到 inspire 它有激励、鼓舞或是启发等等的意思了。好，我们顺便补充几个相同字根的单字。第一个 expire， 它是由字首 ex 搭配字根 spire 而来。那么因为 x 和 s 产生了同化现象，所以这个 spire 的部分就少了这个 s。而字首 ex 它表示向外，字根 spire 表示呼吸，合在一起 expire 它就有呼气吐气的意思。这个字其实原本还有断气死亡的意思哦。那我们从生命结束，也许可以联想到 expire 它有到期期满的语义。第二个补充的是 respire， 它的字首 re 表示 again 再次， spire 表示呼吸，合在一起 respire 就是指呼吸。它的形容词 respiratory 是指跟呼吸道相关的，像我们说 respiratory infection 就是表达呼吸道感染。好，那第三个补充的是 conspire， 它的字首 con 表示一起， spire 表示呼吸。从字首字根的表面意思来看，是指一起呼吸嘛。那同学们可以用中文的成语沆瀣一气来联想说，当两个人臭味相投，同一个鼻孔出气，也许就可以联想到 conspire 它有同谋密谋的意思。好，那以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Invention. Dr. Turner's latest invention helps to save energy in homes. Inspire. This novel was inspired by the life of the famous painter. Likewise. Susan loves to read books, and her brother likewise enjoys reading. Radar. The control tower used radar to detect the airplane. Conduct. Mr. Reed will conduct a meeting with his students' parents tomorrow evening. Diagnosis. The doctor was able to provide a clear diagnosis after reviewing the test results. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger.
See you next time.